Several had asked me about making the feathers, and so I'm going to do a video and show you how I do them. Now on this quilt, this is going to be a donation quilt, and the feathers, if this were to be a show quilt, I would have had these strips going horizontally so that I could make one complete pass without having to stop and start and cut my threads. But because of the backing that I'm using, I had a seam in the backing, and the seam is better on the long arm if it's going horizontally, so I didn't have a problem with stopping and starting on these feathers. But the best way in theory to do it is to have your long strips going horizontal. And some people will turn, if they have the borders to do the feathers, they will do the horizontal strips, and then they will take the quilt off the machine, turn it, and then the side borders will then be the horizontal strips, and they will quilt that. I generally just stop and start. Now on the feathers that I'm going to show you today, I've made the feathers, and then I've gone back in with a little center spike, and then I've outlined the feathers. And so since I'm having to stop and start, when I stop the ones previous, I stop in the last feather, because if I come all the way up to here, I'm not going to know exactly where I should stop. So I just stopped there, then I'll pick it up on the next pass. So I hope you'll be able to see this. I've turned the light on the machine off because that helps you to see, but it also means that I can't see what I'm doing as well. Pick up my thread and my bobbin thread, and some people will just leave a long tail and go back and knot that and bury it, but the back tacking method works just fine for me. I also have my handles almost straight up, which is an awkward position for me to quilt, but it will help you to be able to see what I'm doing, I hope. And I'm not going to try to talk over the machine, but I'm going to make my spine first, and it's just freehand spine. If you're more comfortable chalking a line or drawing a line, you can do that. And then I'm going to go back and do one side of the feather, and then come back up and do the other side of the feather, then go back down doing the little inside spine, and then come back up and around to outline it. Practice makes perfect. Mine are not perfect, but if you're not happy with your feathers, just keep practicing, because you can do it. I'm also going to turn the stitch regulator off because it beeps. Maybe I'm going to turn it off. Okay, now we're going to go. I'm going to just backtrack a little bit. I'm going to clip my thread, and when I get to this point, I have this much space left, and I kind of have to judge. It's a little bit too big for one feather, and it's a little bit too small for two, but I'm going to put two in there so I don't have one giant one that sticks out like a sore thumb, and we'll go from there. I'm going to turn my speed up a little bit, because without the stitch regulator, my stitches are a little bit big on this setting. So I'm going to make it go a little faster. Now, when we get to the end here, I like to have one little center section, a little center feather, so you don't end up with two on each side and nothing in the center. I don't know if you can see this one, but there's just two right there. That's not the end yet. If this were the end, I would want to have one right there in the center. So now I'm going to go back down my spine, track down my spine, and do the little inside spine. now I'm going to cut my bottom thread, and I have a thread cutter on here, so I'm just going to use that. I'm going to cut my top thread, and then I'm going to go back over here and pick up to outline the feather, pick up where I left off with the last one, bring up my bottom thread, and I am going to use the stitch regulator. I don't think you can hear it once the machine's running. Back tack there to get that thread nailed down. And then back tack again at the end where I join the other outline stitch. Cut the bottom thread, cut the top thread close, and there's the feather that I've made. I'm gonna see if I can zoom in here so you can see that a little better. And really all you have to do is practice, and the first feathers that you're going to make probably aren't going to look like you hope they would look, but keep going. My first feathers looked really bad, and I'm sure there are some people who think my current feathers don't look so great either. But keep practicing and you can make anything you want to make.